Today we're going to be going into an in-depth face routine. Well, my face routine. And I'm going to be talking about foundations, concealers, highlighters, contours, bronzers, blushes, everything you can think about. We're going to be going into step by step where to put those products, why you put those products on your face, and that way you can figure out what products you would like to use and what brands you think might work for you. And before we get to the video, make sure to subscribe down below, hit the like button and the notification bell so you are alerted every single time a new video comes up. This is Elisabeth Marie if you are new, and I upload a video every Thursday at 10 a.m. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So, I guess that's it. Let's get to the video. So, the first thing you need to start with every single time you go to do your foundation or makeup period is moisturize your face. I love using the Olay moisturizers and also the Olay Eyes Illuminating Cream. So basically I start with this. I put a little bit on my finger, like literally that much, and then I rub it together and I pat right underneath my eye. I pat, 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 and let it sink in. And now I'm going to go in with the Olay Active Hydrating Original Formula Moisturizer. Now I use this during the day, but at night I use the Night of Olay moisturizer, and it's supposed to have like firming cream to it, so that way it kind of, you know, settles my skin at night, and it just makes me feel really refreshed in the morning whenever I get up. Basically, the reason why you want to use moisturizer before you put your primer on and your foundation on is because it really helps smooth out your skin. It helps hydrate your skin, and even if you do have an oily skin type, you know, you can get moisturizers and stuff that aren't oily and that help prevent oil, so that way it makes your foundation stay on longer, and it just makes your skin look so much more healthy whenever you use a moisturizer. Next step is going to be primer. So I've used a bunch of different kinds of primers, but my favorite, all-time favorite primer is definitely the MAC Fix Plus. Now, of course, I still have the sample bottle of this. Once this one runs out, I am definitely getting the bigger size of it. I've used other primers and, you know, yes, they work, but this one just makes me feel good. It makes my skin feel good whenever I, you know, mist it on, and it really helps my makeup stay on a lot longer. Also, the Smashbox Primer Water is a very good primer. I got this a little while ago and I used it a little bit in Israel while I was over there, and it really did make my skin feel very good. And also, I don't have it with me, but I've used it in another video. It's the e.l.f. silicone primer, and it has like a pump on it, and it's kind of like the moisturizer texture, but you rub it in and then you rub it all over your face, and that primer by e.l.f. is a very good primer. You want a good mist all over your face. So I have it out about this high, and then I spray it. Alright, and while that's setting, I'm going to talk about my two favorite foundations that I have right now and that I use almost every single day. The first one, which should be a surprise to no one who watches my videos, is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow Foundation. I absolutely love this foundation. If you really don't like the glow factor in your foundation, then the Infallible Pro Matte by L'Oreal is also a very, very good foundation to try. The other one is the Tarte Shape Tape Hydrating Foundation. There's not a really great shade range in this foundation, but I obviously got the lightest color of it, and it matches my skin color perfectly. So to do this, I'm going to get the doe foot, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One down here, one down my nose, and going off the sides of my nose, and then 1, 2, 3, and right underneath. Good. Whew, that's attractive. Let me tell you what, that is so attractive. Another trick I like to use when applying my foundation is using the same primer that you used before and spraying it onto your beauty blender or your brush. You can use a brush too, and really getting it soaked in to the damp beauty blender before you buff it out. This technically is the Real Techniques diamond sponge, which I absolutely love because it has all these different sides and spaces on it. But you want to dampen your beauty blender whenever you are using it because it expands it. Like, it makes it 2 times bigger than the original size whenever it's dry. And you know, whenever you dampen it and it starts to expand, it gets so much softer. You know, whenever you try to use a dry beauty blender to buff out your foundation, you know, it's like you're beating yourself with a rock because it's just such a hard sponge before you dampen it. There we go. So now after foundation, you want to go in with concealer, and basically that really helps set in all of your areas that you want to cover up. And then we're going to bake it with powder, which I will explain later. The foundation comes out of the Shape Tape. It has a lot on it, so I always kind of like smudge off the excess of it. And then I'm going to go from the middle of my eye down my nose, down next to my nose. I'm gonna make a big triangle going this way. Woo! And I tell you what, this fair color is light. It is very, very, very light. But don't feel like you have to use this much concealer because you don't. You just buff it out with our beauty sponge. And whenever you start to do concealer this much, please make sure that you buff it out very, very good, because the first time I started using concealer, I buffed it out, but it wasn't necessarily as buffed out as it could have been. And I looked a little crazy. I looked a lot crazy. So buff it out really well along your nose, the top of your forehead. Okay, and then buff it out underneath your eyes. And also, another tip is whenever I'm doing it underneath my eyes, I do it on top of my eyes, because that will be used as the primer base to my eyeshadow looks. Okay, now that we are all blended out, we are going to go in with powder. So I've used a bunch of different kinds of powders on the channel. I've used the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte powder, which I'll link the video up below. I've used the Ulta mineral powder, which I'll link up below. But my favorite, as of right now, is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose powder. Now this comes in a little square box like this, and I'm in shade 05 Fair. So it twists off, and then you have all that powder in there like that. I'm going to dump the powder out. A more egg-shaped beauty blender that's still damp, and I'm going to press it into that powder. And you can definitely use the same beauty blender that you have been using. I just like this one because it gets underneath my eyes really well. So this is going to look very scary, but just wait. I promise it'll make sense. So I'm going to basically press that all the way across my eyes. Press, don't blend, just tap. Just tap it all the way across your eyes so it looks like you're wearing a very crazy looking mask. But really, it's called baking in the beauty world. You don't necessarily have to call it baking. Oh, my light. But essentially this is what it's doing. Once you put the powder underneath your eyes like this and let it set and let it kind of melt into your skin, that will keep your concealer from creasing. So while this is setting, I start in with bronzer. Now obviously in every single one of my videos I've been using the Makeup Revolution Ultra Bronze. So basically I take the Makeup Revolution Ultra Bronze, and I also take the Morphe 530 brush, which is really fluffy style brush that you know isn't very wide, but it does have a lot of, you know, bristles to it. I'm sorry, my light keeps changing. I dip it in while I'm still baking, and I go in really kind of heavy right underneath where my cheekbones are, and then I'm going to carve out where my cheeks are. So I start from the inside of my nose and I just go down right here like a V. Does that make sense? A V, or like a big check mark. You can think of it as a check mark too. The reason why I do this right here is because I don't have the most slender face in the world. I have, you know, big cheeks, and that really helps solidify where my cheekbones are, and it just makes me look a little bit thinner. The bottom of my chin towards my ears, around where my jawline is. And I kind of make sure that you really blend this out if you do this step, because you don't want to look like you have a chin strap on from football, but you want it just to kind of give you a little bit of shadow underneath your chin, especially if you were one like me that has a little bit of a double chin going on. So I also, the last place is I go up around my hairline. Now if you really hate your hairline and you hate how it looks, this will help. I'm going to go in with the Morphe 527 brush. This is the fluffiest brush I've ever used. This one is amazing. If you want a good powder brush, go check Morphe out, because it picks up so much product and it's so dense, but yet it's so soft. So I'm going to dip back into that powder, the Maybelline Fit Me powder, and put it all over my face. And you're going to see what I mean when I say it holds a lot of product, because it's just crazy. So, and I'm going to wipe away the stuff underneath my eyes and really cover around where that contour was. We're not going to take as much product as we did before, so I'm going to dip it in and I'm going to tap off the excess. Now I'm going to just blend into where that contour was, but you see now you can see the shape of where that was, and it really brings out my cheekbones because they're hidden underneath my love cheeks. The Makeup Revolution matte blush in color Beloved, that's what it looks like. And I'm also going to be using the Ulta blush brush for my cheeks today. So I'm going to dip it in and I'm going to knock off the excess, because this Makeup Revolution blush is no joke. It is so pigmented. So you have to have a very soft hand when doing this. I'm going to start from the back of my cheekbone and move it up to the apples of my cheeks. And just go back and forth and in little round motions. And then if you get a little bit too much blush on you, you can take that same powder brush with nothing on it, because I'm sure it still has powder left in it. And you can really just kind of blend in that blush and that bronzer together. Next to last step in your face routine is highlight. So whenever I first started watching beauty videos on YouTube, I thought highlight was the craziest thing, absolutely craziest thing. And then I started to use it and I absolutely love highlight. I really love using this Ulta eyeshadow for a highlighter. It's in color Silk, and obviously I've used it a lot, but it just has the most beautiful sheen to it, and it's just a good highlight whenever you're starting out. I also have gone into the Jaclyn Hill palette and used the first two shades from her palette. Oh my gosh, my palette's so dirty. I've used the first two shades from her palette, and they are a really good highlight. This middle one, or this first one right here, I use on my inner corners and above, and on my eyebrow bone after I do my brows, and it's beautiful. But I've also started to use the NYX Born to Glow highlight. Now this has literal sparkles in it. Like, it has these crazy shimmers in it, and it looks like I just have glitter on my cheeks. That's probably not for everybody. I have to be very sparing whenever I use this because I look crazy. Whenever it looks great in here with all the lights and everything, but then whenever I go out, I look like a disco ball. But if I'm just wanting a little glow, I put it right on top of my cheekbone. You see how that just made it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just going crazy. What the fan brush is good for, it really just gets an even distribution across your cheeks. But with the Morphe 510 brush, you could dip it in there, and it really helps you get just on the tip of your nose. and on your Cupid's bow. But this brush really just gets into where you don't have, because like if I tried to use this, like I would have highlight everywhere. I would have it everywhere. So I just like to use this one on the tip of my nose and on my Cupid's bow, so that way I know exactly where it's going. Alright, so the last thing you want to do with your foundation is you want to spray fixing spray onto your face. So the importance of fixing spray. If you do not get anything I've said the whole video, if you just really fast forwarded through the whole thing, if you don't want to use a primer, that's fine. I understand that because some people don't. But you need a fixing spray. Fixing sprays, if you get a good one, mind you, fixing sprays are what is going to keep all the hard work you just did on your makeup on. Now, I've used all kinds of fixing sprays. You can use the MAC Fix Plus as a fixing spray. I've used the Makeup Revolution Pro Fix spray. I've used the Urban Decay De-Slick spray, which my mom uses and she loves it because it really sets the oils on her face. It's called De-Slick and it is an oil control spray. So for those of you who have oily skin, you tend to get oily towards the end of the day, you really want to use this stuff because it'll keep the oil under control and keep your makeup on. So double duty. But I personally love the Makeup Revolution Sports Fix. So this really helps my makeup stay in place. It helps it look good. It helps it set good. And by the time I get home and I wipe my makeup off, it's basically like I'm wiping a whole day of makeup off my face because it hasn't moved. Unless I've just sit there like, you know, messing with my eyes or something, of course it's going to move then. But if, you know, I really do my makeup well and I keep it there, this is my go-to. And you're going to just spray. Woo! Oh my goodness. So spray all over your face just like we did with the primer. Make sure you get every single portion of your face and underneath your chin because you did put some stuff there. And then let it dry.